I like passionate Australians, and I like passionate Australians that are willing at times to swim outside their lane. People who put their brain to things other than just what they do for a job. And in the case of Gary Johnston, he's a very successful businessman. You may know the JCar Electronics Company. He is a very passionate Australian, along with people like Dick Smith. He's turned his mind to things like submarines and about the deal that we have done, the idea of the French companies that are going to be building them, and it's not just exclusively a conversation about whether it should or shouldn't be happening in South Australia. It's a question about national defence, because my next guest thinks there may well be a very giant hole in our national defence if we keep going the way that we currently are. Gary Johnston joins us now at the table. Gary, lovely to see you, mate.
Good evening, Paul.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, this is incredibly complicated, which means...
Fortunately it is, yes.
But there are principles that are worth talking about, and I want to give an early plug to a website people should go and have a look at, which is submarinesforaustralia.com.au. Submarinesforaustralia.com.au, lots of serious detail there. In a general sense, if we were just meeting at a barbecue, I have to ask you this one first. What is the problem with the decisions that the government have made about submarines from here on in? Are they spending too much? Are they getting crappy subs? What's the central problem with what they're doing?
They're spending too much money. They don't have to spend that much money, but governments are good at spending more money than they have to. The decision to choose the French manufacturer doesn't make any sense. There were two very valid other contractors, a Japanese contractor, which Tony Abbott favoured, and a very, very good German contractor who guaranteed the price not to change and the delivery not to change and make it in Australia. And this were off-the-shelf submarines like Holden Commodores. They already existed. The French submarine is predictable in some ways because the Defence Department turned a simple equation into an unnecessarily complex one. They've done this before. They did it with a helicopter, an air warfare helicopter that they tried to make from airframes that had been in the Arizona desert since the 60s. They spent $1,400 million, $1.4 billion, and they never flew. Wow. They never flew. It's like writing off two North Shore hospitals. Two hospitals.
And this opens the door to the way we make decisions about the stuff we buy to defend our nation. This in and of itself is perhaps the problem that is producing decisions like the one about submarines. Now, obviously, there's the political side, and it's pretty obvious that the Liberal Party was obsessed with losing seats in South Australia, hence why Christopher Pyne is now a Cabinet Minister for the pork barrelling of South Australia. But there seems to be a flaw in the decision-making process of the advice government is getting as well.
It's just like football clubs who promote ex-footballers who've had their heads in scrums, and they think because they've done such loyal service on the paddock, they should give them a job as executives. They've had no experience for this sort of thing, and then you get this chaotic situation. What the Defence Department have done is that they've promoted admirals and generals and people who've spent their whole career in a military capacity, and then they've asked them to do a logistics job, and a job where someone like, say, Wal King would be more experienced in things like this. So they keep making the same mistakes over and over. They've done it with the MRH-90 helicopter. There's quite a few military items that they've incorrectly ordered. The process is too complicated. It's got too much politics in it. And the solution to our future submarines is really quite simple. It's a bit politically brave, but it's simple. But what they've done right now is to give the French a job to convert a nuclear submarine to a diesel one. Yeah. And the nuclear submarine hasn't even been launched yet. It doesn't exist yet. So they then have to design a diesel version, which is going to have enormous problems. And the Collins-class submarines, which we all know were a pretty hopeless decision as well. Once again, another flawed process the Defence Department got themselves involved in. But these are going to wear out by 2025.
And this is what brings us to the real worry here, which is the ones that we're buying don't exist yet. The ones that we have are going to run out. And you think you've found a hole
15 years at least.
So for 15 years, what will happen to Australia's submarine defence?
There won't be any.
We will have zero
We'll
submarines.
have zero. It's like buying a house without a front door in a dodgy neighbourhood.
But how is this...
You wouldn't do it.
And how is this not a scandal? How is this not the idea that a part of our military defence may well not exist for 15 years?
Well, what I'm hoping is that the media, some hero, will come up and just start publicising this. I don't have a media franchise. I'm just a Sydney businessman. I cannot seem to get any traction through the media. We started saying, look, what's going on here? They're trying to convert a nuclear submarine to a diesel one. They should just buy the nuclear, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be a lot simpler. That'd be a lot simpler, a lot smarter. But they want to go through this silly process because they think that Australians aren't mature enough to accept a submarine that's got nuclear propulsion. Every other submarine in the ocean around them is going to be nuclear. It's like going to a war with a propeller fighter plane.
So at the moment, you're trying to arm up and talk to politicians. Part of having you on the show is I want my journalist friends, I want media friends to listen to this and use this conversation as the start digging here. But to make the claim that we will have no submarines for 15 years is massive.
It is massive.
So what is the response from government when you talk about it?
Nothing.
They say nothing?
They're not giving us any oxygen. They're hoping we'll go away.
Good luck.
They're hoping we'll just go back to work.
Yeah, good luck.
And I'm outraged by this. I'm absolutely outraged. I've got a day job. And the fact of the matter is that nobody else seems to be interested.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. There will be a hiatus where we have no front-line defence for this country if we keep going with the DCNS decision, the French submarine decision.
Unbelievable. Well, obviously, we will put our questions to government, but if there is deep investigative reporters watching us right now, no pressure on you, Hedley Thomas, but plenty of others, get involved, get in touch with me and get in touch with Gary. Gary, appreciate it, mate.
Thank you very much for giving me your time.
Love you, brother. All right, his website is, and I want you to go and have a look at this, submarinesforaustralia.com.au. Panel chat.